yourselves to leave the prison wall. Show some love. Hold each other.
Welcome to the Princess Pat Akpabio Show. On this show, we change minds and change attitudes on how you perceive things in life generally. In life, we have so many questions but fewer answers concerning certain issues that we are facing. And that's why I'm here, to give you the kind of answers that you may be looking for the questions that you have. I am your friend, I am your sister, I am your coach. I'm here to make your day a blissful one. Welcome.
We are changing minds and changing attitudes.
You are watching the Princess Pat Akpabio Show.
We live in a society and in a world where marriage is valued by all. Well, I want to believe that it is, because marriage is an institution of God and therefore is sacred and is honorable before God and man. But we live in a society and in a world where people are now live in concubines and are in a relationship with a man where they move in the hopes that one day he would marry her, he would do right by her, take her down the altar, or pay the bride price like we have here in the African society. Well, in my society, we have to pay bride price and give a whole lot of things that comes with a whole lot of list, making sure that you're marrying somebody's daughter in the word proper sense of being married. But anyway, what are your thoughts on this particular topic that I'm about to introduce to you? Marriage versus live-in concubine.
Change your minds and change your attitudes.
Let it marinate. Let it simmer. Let it sip in. Let it get in. What are your thoughts? Well, go ahead and hit the subscribe button, and so that you will get notification whenever I post new content on this particular channel. Now, leave me comments. Let me know what you think. What are your suggestions? Do you believe that a man should actually take somebody's daughter as a wife on credit? Or do you believe that he should do right by her and pay the bride price and follow the traditional right according to African culture or the Western culture, walk her down the aisle, or well, be waiting for her to meet him on the altar and put a ring on the finger and make it official? Well, a lot of people would say that when men and women live together before marriage, which of course we see it happen commonly even around us, even in our society, where a man and a woman would move in, okay, they go visiting, all right, for weekends, they stay together, that they're getting to know each other. Are you in courtship? Are you ready to be married? Because courtship is for people, or are for people, or is for people that are ready to be married. That's how we go into courtship. But we see that people who are dating all of a sudden begin to live with one another as husbands and wives. I call it living concubines. The risk of being a living concubine is the fact that the man can wake up on the same bed with you. He has gotten another apartment or probably has built another house somewhere else and walks another woman down the aisle. But he just left you. I have heard this story in our society happen too often than once. And I'm yet to understand why women still allow these things to happen. Why do you allow a man to make a fool out of you, make you look stupid with all the education and the exposure that you have, that you would move in and live with a man who is not your husband or has lied? I call them Budodo PLC. I want to marry you PLC, public liability companies. Those kind of men that promise women that they're going to marry you. And I don't know what's up with women. You just say, I'm going to marry you, everything in you. You give a man everything. Newsflash. A man will enjoy the benefits of marriage without commitment. Yeah, you're giving him everything without marriage. So what would want to excite the man to come pay bride price to marry you? What would excite the man to say, I value you, I don't want another man to have you? After all, you're giving me the sex that I want for free. You're washing my clothes. Are you a dry cleaner? You're cooking my meals. Is you the chef? You're sweeping. You're a housekeeper now? I mean, think about it, women. When you are a living concubine, A man is enjoying all that benefits outside marriage. So that's why a man will wake up one morning and his wedding is the following day. And you just wake up and your friend will call you on the phone. Have you heard Richard is getting married? Have you heard Clement is getting married? Are you not aware? And then you now break down and you start crying, you start complaining, and you start saying, oh God, like, he used me. A man used you? No, honey, you gave him the permission to use you. You allowed him to use you. The minute you accepted to be a living concubine, aka wife to be. I'm not saying that it doesn't work out for people who move in and live together and all that stuff, but I'm telling you that there's a lot of emotional abuse. There's a lot of cheapening that is going on there. Because at the end of the day, when he's trying to toast a side chick, he would say, I didn't want to marry her. She moved into my house and she was living there with me. And as she was living, she got pregnant. And so we had children. And at the end of the day, that's how she ended up being my wife. He's going to be lying to a whole lot of women about you. How do you think other people will view you? Like, I mean, I really don't care what people think about it, but hey, he already sold you cheap. So you're going to see a little tat that is not even up to who you are insulting you because of what? What a man told her about you. And so when you decide to go live with a man without doing the proper thing, think about the things that you stand to lose, the disadvantage, the disrespect, the devaluing. And then, of course, to men as well. It happens to men because I know some men are going to be like, well, Princess, what are you talking about? I mean, I have done this for a woman. At the end of the day, she left me and married somebody else. We were living together. We planned to get married. I just didn't have the money for us to get married. Then she also left me. Really? You're going to send a woman to school that is not your wife? You're going to sponsor her to go learn trade, get skills? You're going to spend all your money on a woman that you haven't put a ring on her finger? And you don't expect that after you've done all of those stuff and made her look beautiful, or while she's going through the training, she's going to see a man that befits her new status and new exposure, especially if you are not in her class. Did I say that? Look at this. You're just a village chemist, for instance. And she went to the university. You sent her to the university to go get a formal education. Assumingly, she studies medicine. You expecting this woman who was going to see senator's son, a CEO's son, president's son, commissioner's son, governor's son, an entrepreneur's son, that the father is doing well and they expose and travel to come back home and marry you in the village, medical doctor. Brother, I don't know how you're going to achieve that. It's just not going to happen. Oh, you're trying to say we shouldn't help people? Yeah, you should help people, but help them and expect nothing in return. Can you handle that? Can you do that? Because if you're doing that in the hopes that, oh, when she comes back, she's going to marry me, let me tell you something what's going to happen. She's going to be in that school and she's going to be cheating on you. And at the end of the day, she's probably going to end up being married to somebody else. Honey, what they're just going to do to you is pay you compensation. If you insist. Because at the end of the day, that is what happened in our tradition. People resort to voodoo and doing juju for somebody's daughter. Sometimes you see people walking on the streets mad. Why? A man sent them to school and she came back and decided not to marry the man. When you decide to do that for a woman, consider it benevolence. And it's applicable both ways, both male and female. A woman, when you decide to help a man to achieve his dream, please, it's not by force that he has to be married to you. Consider it as you are helping the poor. Okay, so what are some things? What would make somebody, what are the circumstances that would make a woman or a man move in to live together with each other without actually going through the proper route of being married, following the traditional laws and rules and regulations set before us? Not in any way these circumstances I'm going to give you excusing the fact that the proper thing should still be done. Financial needs. The man and the woman are not financially buoyant to actually go into the marriage. They can't go through with the right. The man can give the things that is necessary. He can pay the bride price. So, I mean, he's not going to do it. He loves the woman, no doubt, but he doesn't have the money. And neither does she have the money for them to go through the whole ride. That's where you have live-in concubines. They're in a relationship. And of course, let me say this now before I move on. In the Western culture, they have what we call common marriage. All right, common marriage in a situation whereby both male and female don't want to be married, or they're not ready to be married. So they're moving together and they're living together. They're doing everything together. They shop together. They do everything as husbands and wife and actually raise a family. That is common marriage. So in common marriage, I mean, just in case the man and the woman decide to separate and go their separate ways and everything is being shared on the line, 50-50, and then we have something like the TV. Do we have to split the TV into two, get a saw and saw it into two, you take half part and take the other part? Damaged, right? Okay, yeah, so we could sell the TV and then split the proceeds from the selling. Do we have to go through that route? Do we have to go through all of those things? Somebody was saying even if they were married and then they got a divorce, the court might just decide that they still have to split it. So whichever way you look at it, you're trying to make up excuse for a lot of things. You don't have to do that. We are from the African tradition. Let us do the right thing. And when we don't follow what we're supposed to follow in our tradition, there is a negative consequence, or there are negative consequences when we don't do the right thing by our daughters or by our sons, or do something right by the woman according to our tradition. Accommodation. A woman doesn't have accommodation or can't afford to pay accommodation for herself, she moves in with the man. Same thing. The man can move in with a woman because he can't afford to pay his accommodation. At the end of the day, what happens? What do you expect to see? Promissory note. I will marry you, I will marry you, I will marry you. Promissory note, PLC. And at the end of the day, the woman would give everything. She would sacrifice herself for the man. She would go through a lot. And the funniest thing that really gets to me, that gets on my nerves, like I'm just hearing it, because it is pathetic. You hear a woman tell you that the man who moved into her house brought in another girl to her house. Man, how do you do that? How do you sleep with yourself at night? It's not your apartment. You didn't pay for it. You haven't even married this woman. You're bringing in another woman. Or worse, he's cheating on me. He's already cheating on you before you married. When you're married, what's going to happen? A whole lot is going to happen. Unwanted pregnancy. All right, on the flip side, a man pays their accommodation. They're living together. And he steps out of the house for a minute, or maybe he's living somewhere else, whatever the case may be, and the woman brings in another man. Ding, 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 hello. And at the end of the day, somebody gets poured hot water. Somebody ends up in the hospital in the emergency room. Isn't that attempted murder? Can't we all curb this thing in the society by actually doing the right thing? Yes, I keep hearing it in my spirit. Somebody's going to say, but women also do that who are actually legally married to the man. Are you crazy? Are you insane? Why are you bringing in your concubine to your matrimonial home and matrimonial bed? Don't you know that the marriage bed should be undefiled? That marriage should be honorable before God and man. So why would you do that? I mean, you're risking your life for what? 5 minutes pleasure? Really? Is it worth it? No. The answer is no.
Change your minds and change your attitude.
When you see a marriage relationship, everything they're doing has reference point. Oh, because of my wife, or because of my husband. Now,
Things are never what they seem to be. Changing minds, changing attitudes. Bring ourselves to live a peace and one. Changing minds, changing attitudes. Bring ourselves to live a peace and one. Show some love, hold each other's hands. In confidence we'll make the world a better place. We are changing minds and changing attitudes.
You are watching the Princess Pat Akpabio Show.